Be blessed by the divine. Be blessed by the divine. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. I'll just share my screen and start. Let us discuss about the topic of the day today. So today we are going to discuss about the topic which is glorious virtue. So let us go through the what is the agenda today. The agenda is first let us go through what is virtue, the meaning of virtue in by dictionary, by general explanation, and then we will go through some of the quotes by famous scholars. After going through this, then we will go through what is Maharishi's explanation about virtue. I think today, on every day during meditation, we have this, we understand when we do daily what is meant by virtue. So first let us go through this. So what it is given is not causing hurt or harm. Okay. So this is virtue as defined by dictionary. So this is one of the famous poem by Maharishi. It is translated to English. So what he says is not causing hurt or harm to other beings in the world. That and that alone is virtue as defined. So he says that and that alone only. So there is nothing more than this. So virtue is the source and seed of all encompassing peace, and that is why it is placed higher than even one's life. This is exactly Maharishi's words. Virtue is a precious aid for the elevation of consciousness, which has to span out to the totality, the truth. Sages have shown the way, and it is for us to take the clues and realize the purpose of our birth. So here Maharishi links being virtuous to realizing the purpose of birth. So all the Vedatrians who are practicing this and who have attended the introspection classes know exactly what Maharishi means. So today is nothing but it is like a refresher session. Just we are trying to go through what we have learned earlier, just to refresh our minds. So what is virtue? Virtue, as per AI search, virtue is a multifaceted concept that primarily refers to moral excellence and the habit of doing what is right. So here the right depends upon right changes as per individuals. Okay, so right may be what is right may be for me may not be right for the other person. Anyway, this is what is the English. So then, what does the dictionary says about this is a good moral quality in a person or the general quality of being morally good. This is what the dictionary says. So once we go through this, we will understand how the clarity was provided by our Guru after going through what is explained, or what are the explanation in English. And there is one more explanation about virtue is thinking and doing what is right and avoiding what is wrong. And we all know the confusion we had before coming to Vedatrium between right and wrong. So, and then as per the Wikipedia, the virtue, it is derived from the Latin word virtus, virtus, is a trait of excellence, including traits that may be moral, social, or intellectual. The cultivation and refinement of virtue is held to be the good of humanity and thus is valued as an end purpose of life or a foundational principle of being. So here they have linked, at least in the this one, to the purpose of life. Okay. So there are certain synonyms, and synonyms for this, like goodness, integrity, righteousness, morality, honor, merit, and strength. These are some of the synonyms. And then there are some of the antonyms also. Let us understand. So we can, if you know what is not to be done, then it is good. So what is not, it is vice or evil. So vice, wickedness, evil, sin, corruption, immorality, badness, dishonor, depravity, and iniquity. So these are some of the antonyms provided in the internet. So these are some of the words linked to virtues. So this will give us an understanding about they are in general loosely connected with virtues. And then let us go through some of the famous quotes by scholars for virtue. So what Aristotle says is virtue is the golden mean between two vices, the one of excess and the one of deficiency. He also famously noted that we are repeatedly do, what we repeatedly do. And then he says excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So he links virtue to the habit or repeating what we do on a continuous basis. And then what Plato says is the most virtuous are those who content themselves with being virtuous without seeking to appear so. So this is also very interesting. Without seeking to appear so. So here also what he means is we have to be virtuous instead of showing others or acting that we are virtuous. This is probably thousands of years back. And then one more thing. All the gold which is under or upon the earth is not enough to give in exchange for virtue. So like what Maharishi said in his poem also, it is more than somebody's life. And here also, here he says that it is something, it is more valuable than all the gold which is in the available in the earth. This is the quote by Plato for virtue. So we can understand that even those days, from time immemorial, virtue is being held as a very good, very, very important one to be followed in one's life. And then next, then another scholar, Marcus Aurelius, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So he also advised, look within, for within is the wellspring of virtue. So again, he is also telling that instead of arguing about what is good, be one and be an example. And we have to look within for the virtue, not outside. Then Confucius says, to practice five things under all circumstances constitutes perfect virtue. So these five are gravity, generosity of soul, sincerity, earnestness, and kindness. So this is another way of understanding virtue. Then another scholar, Marcus Tullius, gratitude is not the only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. So here he links gratitude to virtue, so which is again another point of view we can say. And then one more quote by Aristotle. What he says is the greatest virtue are those which are most useful to other persons. So here he links this to being selfless or to help others and virtue. Then another quote is who sows virtue reaps honor. This is by Leonardo da Vinci. So here he says that what we sow is what we reap. So here what we says is if we sow virtue, we can reap honor. This is as per Leonardo da Vinci. And then actually what we have done is so far we have seen virtue in English language, in dictionary, in some quotes, or in the internet. What are the explanations? So there we heard about good, bad, habit, and all those things. So as we are aware, good and bad, there is always a fight within us to understand what is good and bad. Before, at least my experience before joining Vedatrium is what is good need not be good for others. What is good for me need not be good for others. So we all had our own yardstick for measuring or understanding good and bad. So before coming to Vedatrium, so even in schools or in colleges, even in workplaces, we might have had some discussion about good and bad with many of our close friends who are having similar or thinking process. So after attending or after joining Vedatrium, we were able to come to a realization that whatever we have been, or whatever we had been understanding, or we understood about good and bad, is not entirely right. So after attending Maharishi's classes only, as explained by our senior professors here, so we were able to realize the difference between good and bad. But after understanding, so actually what my feeling was, it is so simple, and why it took so many years for me to understand this being good and bad. Okay, so this was my feeling, or after attending Vedatrium sessions, and in the process understanding about good and bad. So let us understand, let us go through the explanation provided by Vedatri Maharshi. So what Maharishi says is, how he starts this is, from time immemorial, whatever animals were doing, they are doing the same thing. And we all know that since we evolved from animals, we have to understand this to understand about virtue. So what a dog was doing hundreds of years back or thousands of years back, it is still doing the same thing. What a tiger did, it did yesterday, it will do today, and it will do tomorrow also, because they are just using the natural resources as available, because they do not have the sixth sense or other means to utilize this in a different way. Fortunately or unfortunately, the human being, which is defined by Maharishi as the greatest thing to happen upon this Mother Earth, the human being, only we are capable of modifying things that are occurring in the nature according to the requirement. So what we do is, we started using, or we started modifying or changing things available in nature to our needs. Since we grow, we could understand those who are in late 50s, or those who are what we call 80s kid or 70s kid. We all know how we were living before, and how what is the time today, like how human being evolved, how human race evolved. When we were traveling before, the travel was very slow, and now we are able to fly across the ocean and reach very soon. Before it was by ship, or even when we were young, we were traveling by bullock cart or by bus, which was taking long time. And when we relayed the road to like 4 lane, 6 lane, where we can travel faster, and with the faster cars or more powerful transport devices available, equipment. So we are able to reach faster, and we are able to do things differently. Like Muthu sir explained in last week also, I believe. What he was saying is, I can have my breakfast in Doha, have my lunch in my hometown, and then probably we can have dinner in Singapore. So this kind of scientific advancement was possible, only is possible, and it is a continuous process. It is where we as human being, we are able to modify things which are occurring in nature to suit our needs. So what Maharishi says is, during this process of converting or modifying what are available in nature to suit our current needs and requirements, we have to make sure that there is no harm or confusions due to this modification. So what Maharishi says is, the problem happens only when, during the process of this modifying to suit to the current requirement, what we do is, the actions what we do, if it is causing harm to self or others during this process, we have to avoid this. So this is the problem. What Maharishi felt that this is the difference between animals and us, which is creating the problem in the nature. So what Maharishi says is, we need virtue for this. So actually, what he means by this is, in order not to cause harm, or not to cause harm to self or others during this process of converting or modifying nature to suit to our current needs, we have to follow virtues. If you are virtuous, this is not going to happen. This is as per Maharishi. So what he says is all religions in this world evolved only to protect this virtue as per Maharishi. And what are the virtues by Maharishi? We have this purpose of life. We have three needs, three protections, three virtues, and three steps to realization. So what Maharishi says is these three virtues, which are morality, duty, and charity. So these are the three important pillars to be understood and followed while we are using the nature, converting it to our requirement in day-to-day life. And let us look at morality first. The morality, as explained in internet or general by English. So morality is nothing but a system of values, normative rules, or principles according to which intentions or behaviors are judged to be good or bad, right or wrong. So this is one of the interpretations or understanding about morality in internet. So another explanation is it is a set of personal or social standards for good or bad behavior and character. Again, good, bad. So again, this confusion will remain. So another quote. So what this is? Integrity is doing the right thing even if nobody is watching. So this is one of the quotes for morality. So this one is, I think we all have experience, and we might have seen also. So like for example, driving when there is no radar and when there is radar. This is a classic example of doing when nobody is even watching you. And then what he says is compassion is the basis of morality by Dalai Lama. Just if you go back to the last slide where Maharishi said all religions evolved to for this. So we know what are the basic tenets of religion: love and compassion. So compassion is the basis of morality. So we can link this to Maharishi's explanation also. And then what Albert Einstein says is the most important human endeavor is the striving for morality in our actions. So here he links actions to morality, which is also we can understand in the subsequent explanation by Maharshi. And one more quote is, sorry, one second. Another scholar, Sidney Harris, says the three hardest tasks in the world are neither physical or nor intellectual achievements, but the moral acts. So actually they link this. The hardest task is to return love for hate, to include the excluded, and to say I was wrong, and to admit I was wrong. So as per this scholar, these are the three hardest but moral acts: to return love for hate, or to include the excluded, and to say I was wrong when we are wrong. So this is another explanation of morality. And then let us understand what is the morality by Maharishi. What is the explanation? I will just read what is there in the. I did not type it, and I will just read what is morality explanation by Maharishi in the book Journey of Consciousness. Here, what he says is, it is the law of nature that every action or deed will produce a result according to the time, place, and object of contact. One should restrict one's thought, word, and deed. They may not result in pain to self or others at present or in future to the body or mind. This is morality. Clear, even though few more lines. So one thought, word, and deed should not
Okay, sir, your audio is getting disturbed.
uh,
Maybe
now
move
okay.
closer to the
Now
mic.
okay.
Yeah,
Now
now.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. To sell for others, uh, now or later is defined as morality, even to the body or mind. So here he has very clearly explained without any ambiguity there can be no questions or there can be no confusions in this. So he says, thought, word, deed. These are the three things which every human being we all undergo. And then pain to self or others, present or future, to the body or mind. So all aspects of our life are covered by Maharishi in this explanation. So Maharishi says that cause and effect is one of the, because whatever we do, there is a effect. So whatever we think, whatever we speak, whatever we act, everything can produce, it will produce a result according to the time, place, and object of contact. So if you can, if every individual, whenever we have time, when we are introspecting ourselves, if one can go through this explanation by Maharishi, will result according to the time, place, and object of contact. Even in the beginning, when I attended the class in Tamil and then later in English, we were just able to not comprehend it in the beginning. So when we slowly listen again and again, read, so we can clearly understand how Maharishi has explained the importance, or how he has given this in a very simple way to understand what is morality. And then what he says is one has to respect and act. So he says, he uses the word மதித்து செயலாற்றுதல். So we have to respect everything and then we have to act accordingly. So செயல் means action, respect means மதிப்பு. So we have to do this. This is what Maharishi says as per him for morality. And then the second one principle of virtue is duty. Let us go through duty as explained in English language, and then we can go through what Maharishi has explained about duty. It is just to give the flavor of how how generally people think, or what we are thinking. Sorry, what we were thinking before understanding Vedatriya. Just to give the flavor only. What duty is, according to the literature, it says it is a moral or legal obligation. And then he says it is a responsibility, duty. It is a task or action that one is required to perform as part of one's job. So here it is related to the work what we do. And then one more explanation is a duty is a commitment or expectation to perform some action in general or if certain circumstances arise. Performing one's duty may require some sacrifice of self-interest. So this is an interesting thing actually. So when we do duty as per this explanation is we have to sacrifice certain acts of duty, or certain duties can be sacrifice of self-interest. For example, we know that the defense forces or the police, those who are protecting us from enemies or from evil, they have to do their duty with sacrifice, because we have seen if the Fauj, or if the military or any defense force, when they perform their duty, they may get hurt, or they may even lose their life, which is true for the police also. So this is like a sacrifice, because everybody wants to live in this world without any problem. So this duty, when they perform the duty, they know that there can be an end to their lives. Still, they do their duty. So this is also another explanation by. And then what is duty by Maharishi? What Maharishi says is, in this book of Journey of Consciousness, he says, the return of dues to society by way of labor and love is duty. So he is not linking only to the labor and love. He says this is duty. So another, see the poem by Maharishi, realize duty, complete on time, that will be good for health, shall get peace of mind. கடமையை உணர்ந்திடு காலத்தில் முடித்திடு உடலுக்கும் உள்ளத்துக்கும் நல்லதாம் அதுவே நமக்கு மன நிம்மதியும் கொடுக்குங்க. So this is what explanation by Maharishi about duty. So what he says is, actually, whoever is born in this world, we are all protected only by the labor, love, and care of the society. So what Maharishi says is, nobody can live in this world on an individual basis. So, and he says that ஒருபிடி உணவில் உலக ஒற்றுமை கண்டிடு. So whenever any morsel, when you take a morsel of food, when we take a food in our hand every day, when we eat, if you think about how many people's duty, how many people's service are involved there in getting the food on our plate, we can say that we pay for it. That is okay, but still, the labor of people, or how many people have done their duty in order for us to eat the food in our home itself. We can say the spouse who cooked the food, or somebody went and bought this. So, if we can realize this, then we can understand what Maharishi is explaining. So, what he says is, we are all being protected or taken care by the society. So, we all are connected to the society. So, we have to show our sense of gratitude. And he says, at the proper age, we have to return the duties what are the due to the society, what we owe to the society. We have to, one has to return the same through his or her labor and love. So what he says is, if everyone realizes, if every human being born in this world realizes, we all have received, we have been receiving things from society, love and compassion, we have been getting everything. And if he or she thinks about returning the same back to the society through the labor and love. So, if this is happening, then what he says, only prosperity, harmony, and peace will be maintained. So, if we can think about this, what Maharishi says here, suppose let us take an example of ourselves, whatever we have received from the society, like what Maharishi says, how he explains is, till certain age, we are all depending upon society. Okay. Still we start earning, and we are standing on our own legs. So we are depending upon for everything with others, like with parents for their support, for finance, for other things. And when we are in the school, we need the support of the system for educating us. Even though we are paying, that is a different deal. But we need the services by everybody, or by many people in the society, for us to become like a responsible human being who can stand in our on our own legs to serve back to the society. So one has to understand, if we realize what are the five duties explained by Maharishi, we can really understand what are the explanations, or why he is telling this. What he says is, there are five duties. They are to self, to family, to relatives and friends, to the society, and to the world. And let us understand about all the five societies in a very brief way, and then we can understand why Maharishi says this. First is self. So before joining Vedatrium, when we started listening this, then we thought, why is self? So is it not selfishness to take care of self before others? So this one is very clear. When we travel in the plane, when the safety things are explained by the air hostess, what he or she explains is, if there is a drop in cabin pressure, oxygen masks will come down. You first wear the mask and then try to help others. So there, it is not selfishness. That is the right thing to do. So here also, what Maharishi says is, the duty to self is important. Why it is important? If we do not do duty to self, what is the duty to self? Taking care of our own being by doing physical exercise, kaya kalpa, and everything to keep our health fit, health, sound mind in a sound body. If we all know that if we are not healthy, if we depend upon somebody for our day to day, then we are not doing the right thing. So taking care of self, so duty to self is important. And then comes the family. So what family? Family by Maharishi is husband, wife, children, the parents of both spouses. So this is the family as explained by Maharishi. The next, we have to do the duty to the family. And then the next one is relatives. So relatives cover everything like siblings and all others. And then next comes to the society where we live, and then to the world. So we have to do the duty in this order as per Maharishi. What he says in Tamil is, he has written many poems about this. What he says is, we have to do the, we have to carry or we have to perform our duties in this order without affecting each other. Wow. So actually, what does it mean? Without affecting each other. Suppose if an individual says that he or she will not take care of oneself, and then they will start working for family. For example, if a person doesn't sleep properly, instead of 8 hours, if he keeps working for 16 hours, 20 hours a day, for whatever reason, to get wealth due to the circumstances or need, in this process, what he or she is doing is hurting self to protect the family or to perform the duty to the family. This is not right as per Maharishi. Or even without taking care of ourselves, if we say that we will do service to the society and we go out every day to do social service by neglecting the family and self, Maharishi says that is actually, that will add to sin as per him. So if we do not do duty to ourselves, and then if we start doing duty to others or family or anywhere, this is a sin. He says that sin, we are getting sins added to our account. So we have to perform the duty in this order only without affecting each other. So this is the explanation provided by Maharishi. And then next is charity. So the third tenet of this virtue is charity. So what is charity? What Maharishi says is, where there is charity and wisdom, there is neither fear nor ignorance. So what Maharishi says as per the, and then sorry, maybe what is the explanation by Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi is, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So this is also another explanation. So and then another explanation is, every act of kindness is charity. Generosity and helpfulness, especially toward the needy or suffering. This is also charity. So benevolent goodwill towards love of humanity or love of humanity. And then the practice of charity is the voluntary giving of help to those in need as a humanitarian act, unmotivated by self-interest. So this is nothing nishkamya karma. So when we start doing our duty without looking for the return, this nishkamya karma is also charity. See, what Maharishi says is, when one out of love, that is beyond prejudice and conditionality, sacrifices all or a portion of one's physical labor, intellectual talent, or wealth to help others, is charity. So this is what Maharishi says in the book Journey of Consciousness about charity. So what does it mean? He says that out of love, that which is beyond prejudice, unconditionality, unconditionally sacrifices all or a portion of one's physical labor, intellectual talent, or wealth to help others is charity. So what Maharishi says is, charity is not only, it need not be by wealth, it can be by physical labor or even intellectual talent. So what Maharishi says, if we understand every day we are blessing, here we bless the people of Qatar or we bless the whole world. So this itself is a act of charity. So we don't have to even pay something, even if you can do this during our blessings. Okay. And then Maharishi says that every individual has to dedicate at least 1% of the wealth as a charity to the needy. So we can understand the importance of charity because we have seen a lot of organizations, those who are wealthy individuals in this society, they are dedicating a percentage of their wealth towards benefit of the society by creating trust, by providing assistance for many needy, for education, for health care purposes. Lot of things we have seen due to the availability of internet and the sharing of information. We all would have seen that this individual, this famous industrialist or this famous businessman has dedicated his percentage of wealth, say many millions dollars or many hundreds of crores, for this trust or for this society. So by this we can understand, maybe we should not get actually bogged down, since if one need not have that much wealth to share. For example, even if a person is interested in Vedatrium, and if he can learn Vedatrium and start helping others by teaching the principles of Maharishi, this itself is an act of charity. Why? Because the purpose of the organization is to achieve world peace. So, in order to achieve world peace, we have to get individual peace to get the world peace. So, when Maharishi's teachings are being propagated through us, for example, if I do this, it is an act of charity. So, we all have to understand that only by wealth we need not provide charity. Even by our thought process, even if somebody is not well, okay, we need not give them money. Even if during our blessings we have been blessing so many people for any issue. So actually, what does it mean? We are not giving them any money or any help. We are just blessing them, which itself will help them to get over their personal grief or any issue. So this is an act of charity. So what Maharishi says is, for the welfare of one and all in the society, these three virtues, morality, duty, and charity, are absolutely essential. An understanding of the values of these three virtues and a due observance of them by practice will result in the development, maintenance of prosperity and peace in society. So this is exactly the words in the book Journey of Consciousness. So having understood this, if we try to go to the poem which Maharishi, which we saw in the beginning. So here what he says is, now we can understand after going through this, not causing hurt or harm to other beings in the world, that and that alone is virtue as defined by the wise. Virtue is the source and seed of all encompassing peace, and that is why it is placed higher than even one's life. Virtue is a precious aid for the elevation of consciousness, which has to span out to the totality, which is the truth. So sages have shown the way, and it is for us to take the clues and realize the purpose of birth. The sage during our time, who is our great guru, Sri Vedatri Maharshi, he has provided us the way. He has shown us the path by understanding the teachings and writings of the sages who were living thousands of years back in our society. He learned, our guru, he learned them, and then he has shown us the way for, and he has given us the clues to realize the purpose of our birth. So let us realize the purpose of our birth, and let us act all in responsibility according to these three virtues: morality, duty, and charity. And let us realize the purpose of birth, which is God realization. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Be blessed by the divine. Be blessed by the divine.